The maid's daughter who owned the mansion. I don't want that maid's child sitting at the dinner table. My mother's voice cracked through the air like a whip just as I laid out the last dish in my own mansion, barely 3 feet away. My father chuckled cruelly. She should stick to what she's good at, mopping floors, not pretending to be one of us. They didn't know that the house they were degrading me in legally belonged to me. This was supposed to be a simple family dinner. Nothing extravagant, just a necessary gathering. But the moment my parents arrived, everything turned sour. They walked in like they still ruled the place, scanning every corner with condescending eyes, whispering insults just loud enough to sting. I had invited them only because my lawyer insisted on it. They still believe they own the house, he'd warned. If you want to officially remove their claim, we need to hold a formal sit-down. So I forced a smile, swallowed my pride, and welcomed them into the very house I'd quietly purchased 5 years ago through a private trust. This mansion once belonged to them, until they lost it. And when the bank seized it, I was the one who bought it back, silently, without telling a soul. As I topped off their drinks and placed plates on the table, my mother leaned toward my aunt and said, "I wish Camila had done something meaningful with her life. Instead, she plays assistant to strangers." My aunt gave a small smirk and whispered back, "Maybe we never should have taken her in. She's just like that woman. A servant. That woman they were mocking, the one who raised me, the one they always referred to as just the help, was more of a mother to me than they had ever been. And what they didn't know was that she was my real mother. The maid they shamed was my birth mother. The truth had come out not long ago, hidden by my so-called adoptive parents because they didn't want the world to discover their charity case had royal blood running through her veins. I clenched my fists as my mother threw her napkin aside like it was trash. "Camila," she snapped, "clean this up. You're not here to eat. You're here to serve." Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from my lawyer. "It's time. Are you ready to reveal everything?" I lifted my eyes. My father caught my stare and smirked, mocking me. "What? Did the maid's daughter forget where she belongs again?" I inhaled slowly, because they were about to regret ever opening their mouths. Without a word, I stood. My father smirked, thinking he'd won whatever imaginary battle he was waging. My mother sipped her wine like she was above it all. Everyone else kept pretending I was invisible. But that silence? It wasn't going to last. I walked into the living room, opened a cabinet, and pulled out a thick black folder. Inside was everything: the property deed, trust paperwork, legal transfer documents, all properly signed and filed under my name. I placed the folder on the table with purpose. "What is this?" my uncle scoffed. "Proof," I replied, locking eyes with my father. "Proof that the woman you've mocked owns every inch of this estate, including the chair you're sitting on." The room went silent. My father leaned in, eyes narrowing. "This some kind of joke?" "No joke," I said calmly. "This house stopped being yours 5 years ago when the bank repossessed it. I bought it through a trust using money from the company you told me would fail." My aunt dropped her fork with a loud clink. "You bought this house?" "I own this house," I said evenly. "The cars in the garage, the food on this table, even the business you all laughed at when I left college, it's mine." My cousin Jake, the one who used to mock my little business idea, blinked. "Wait, your startup? I thought it went under after funding pulled out." I smiled. "It did. And then I rebuilt it in silence. You know that luxury booking app everyone's talking about? The one for high-end rentals and concierge experiences." Jake's face paled. "Camila Lux. That's you? You got it." The room fell completely quiet. My father stood up, knocking his chair back. "Lies." Without flinching, I pulled out the final document, a notarized receipt showing the most recent property payment made directly by Camila Lux Holdings. He snatched the page, eyes darting across the text. His jaw fell open. My mother clung to her wine glass like it might shield her from the truth. "You mean we've been insulting our own daughter while living in her house?" she whispered. I nodded. "Ironic, isn't it?" Jake let out a low whistle. "You've been rich this whole time. Rich enough to stay quiet," I said, "while you all trashed my name and told me I'd amount to nothing." My father's face turned beet red. "We raised you. We clothed you. You owe us." I owe you nothing, I snapped. You didn't raise me. The woman you called the maid did. She's the only one who treated me like family. And just then, the front door opened. In stepped the last person they expected to see, her gray hair pulled back neatly, wearing a modest dress, holding a small gift bag. My real mother. Every pair of eyes turned to her. Why is she here? My mother demanded. She was invited, I said simply. My birth mother smiled warmly. Good evening. Don't worry, I didn't come to clean. I came to watch my daughter reclaim what's rightfully hers. My father froze. Wait, you knew. Before she could respond, my phone buzzed again. This time, a news alert. Jake leaned over, reading the headline aloud. Camila Lux closes $70 million Series B funding round. Founder, Camila Rogers. He looked up, stunned. Your last name is Rogers? I nodded. It was hers. I claimed it back. At that exact moment, my lawyer entered the room, carrying a briefcase and a deadpan expression. I believe it's time to discuss eviction notices, he said coldly. The air went still. My father looked like the ground had vanished beneath him. Eviction? From our home. I said nothing. The lawyer set a thick envelope on the table. This property is now under Miss Camila Rogers' full ownership. All previous tenants have 30 days to vacate. Any refusal will result in immediate legal action. My mother clutched her chest like she'd been stabbed. You can't do this to your own family. I already have, I said quietly. 4 years, I was the maid's daughter, the forgotten girl, the unwanted guest. Now, I was the one in charge. And they were finally seeing who I had always been. My father's hands trembled as he gripped the edge of the table. Why didn't you tell us any of this before? He asked, his voice barely more than a breath. I didn't flinch. Because I was too busy creating a future you never thought I was capable of. I stood tall, unapologetic. While you all laughed behind my back, calling my career a joke, I was building a company from scratch. Brick by brick. While you mocked my absence, I was working through nights, pouring everything I had into something real. Jake spoke quietly, eyes narrowed in disbelief. So all those times you just vanished. You were building this? I gave a single nod. While you all wasted hours gossiping about how I'd amount to nothing. Suddenly, my mother's facade cracked. Her eyes welled up, and tears spilled without restraint. We were wrong, she said, her voice breaking. We should have stood by you, believed in you. But the damage had long been done. No amount of apologies could undo the years of scorn, the whispered ridicule, the abandonment. As the silence grew heavy, my birth mother stepped forward. Her touch on my shoulder was warm, steady. She's not just the legal owner of this house, she said calmly. She's finally taken ownership of the story you all tried to erase. I looked around. Every face at the table wore the same stunned expression, regret, shame, disbelief. These people once controlled my world. Now, they sat powerless in it. Then my phone buzzed again. A new message. No name. Just 5 chilling words. You're not the only one with secrets. My heart skipped. I stared at the screen, then slowly looked up. What is that? My father demanded. What secrets? Who sent it? I didn't have those answers. Not yet. But one thing was suddenly clear. This wasn't over. Not even close. The atmosphere in the room tightened like a noose. I read the message again, heart pounding. Who was it from? Someone from my past? Or someone sitting right here? Then Jake's voice cut through the tension. Hold on, look at this. He pulled out his phone, a video playing on the screen. It had just gone viral, an old clip, time-stamped from years ago. It was from the company where I had once worked. A hidden camera. My father was in the frame, red-faced and yelling. Demanding unethical favors. Threatening employees. Worse, he was caught stealing credit for pitches that weren't his, including one that was directly tied to my startup. The room fell into an eerie silence. My mother's voice shook. That's not real. We don't do things like that. But the footage kept rolling. Secret meetings. Shady deals. A coordinated scheme to sabotage my project. All to drive me away quietly. My uncle shot to his feet. This is defamation. Where did you even get this? I looked him dead in the eyes. From the people you walked over. The ones you lied to. The ones who finally decided enough was enough. The truth was unraveling faster than any of them could contain. The family that had branded me a disgrace was drowning in its own deception. And then, another buzz. Another message. An email this time. Subject line. Camila Rogers, your next move will change everything. I stared at it. Whatever this was, it wasn't about revenge anymore. This was war. The kind waged with evidence, silence, and legacy. I looked at my family. Once untouchable. Now exposed. I whispered, more to myself than anyone else, round 2 starts now. And I knew, no one in that room would ever doubt me again. The air felt heavier than ever. Thick with shattered egos and broken pride. My parents sat like statues, unsure of who I even was anymore. The empire they once ruled was crumbling beneath them. But I wasn't done. I slowly closed my phone and looked around the room. My voice was clear. Steady. A storm held just behind it. You thought calling me the maid's daughter would be enough to bury me. You laughed when I dropped out. You lied. You schemed. You stole from me. I paused, letting the silence settle like dust. But tonight, the truth speaks louder than any inheritance or last name. My mother's tears had vanished. In their place was a glare like ice. You think you've won? This family has history, power, legacy. I shook my head. You have none of those. Just rot. A legacy built on fraud and silenced voices. Then, from my purse, I pulled out another envelope, thicker than the last. My lawyer had handed it to me just before the dinner began. When you're ready to end it, he'd said. Inside, evidence of tax fraud, manipulated documents, illegal transfers, and proof they framed my birth mother to cover their own crimes. I laid the papers across the table. One by one. Their faces turned ghostly pale. You thought insults could silence me, I said. You thought control was power. But I built a company that's changing the industry. I bought back the house you lost. And now, I have the receipts to take down every single one of you. My uncle stood, his voice cracking. You don't know what you're doing. You're destroying this family. No, I said with calm finality. I'm setting myself free. If the truth destroys your empire, maybe it never deserved to stand. My birth mother moved beside me, pulling me into a firm embrace. You are more powerful than they ever imagined, she whispered. I glanced once more at the faces that once looked down on me. Faces now cracked with fear and guilt. Then, with one steady hand, I pulled out my phone and hit send. The email went out to the authorities. And the press. All of it. Every secret. Every dirty truth. The silence that followed was unlike anything I'd heard before. My family was collapsing under the weight of its own lies. And me? I smiled. Because the maid's daughter had taken back everything, and now she was rewriting the ending. This wasn't revenge. It was rebirth. The beginning of something bigger. My empire had only just begun.